Well, here we are, finally, episode number 7 of the Peer Project podcast. Good afternoon, or good morning, or good night. My name's Chris Duke, and thanks for joining us today. And also, thank you for your patience, because I know that I did try and do this podcast every week, and it's not been a weekly thing, but I'm sure if you are listening to a podcast about mental health, then you'll know yourself that sometimes having the motivation to do certain things isn't the best. But we're here, we've got episode number 7 now, and we're going to get it out there, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. I'll tell you more about my guest in a second, but what I want to do first is just let you know all about where we are on social media. So have a wee look for Jukebox Media, that's D-U-K-E Box Media, and that's where you'll find all the different kind of media stuff that I plan on doing over the next wee while, because I really, really want to build on this podcast, because I know that we've got a good concept, we've got some great guests, we've had some amazing conversations in the past, and I've got more still to come, and I want loads of people to hear about it. So if you're listening to this podcast, tell somebody about it, tell a friend, text somebody, share it on Facebook, social media, Bebo, Friends Reunited, whatever. Just let's try and get it out there. So today's guest is a good one actually. Today's guest is a gentleman by the name of Simon Brodkin, and you're probably thinking to yourself just now, Simon Brodkin, I know that name, it sounds familiar, and you know the name but you can't quite place it. Well, maybe this will refresh your memory.
Comedian Simon Brodkin is the man behind some of the world's biggest stunts. From targeting corrupt organisations...
British comedian Simon Brodkin.
Simon Brodkin.
Simon Brodkin.
Showering the FIFA president with fake banknotes.
Poking fun at self-important celebrities.
Here's Kanye West performing, and all of a sudden, Simon Brodkin
managed to get onto the stage.
And taking on cheating corporations.
VW admits to what it calls a massive screw-up.
Excuse me, I have the new cheat box. No one's going to find out about this one.
This is Britain's greatest hoaxer.
That's right, Simon Brodkin, the gentleman behind the character Lee Nelson, and all those unbelievable stunts that he managed to do. And believe me, we do talk about them. We talk about quite a lot of stuff actually. We talk about parenting, we talk about his ADHD diagnosis, we also talk about the stunts as well. So I'm looking forward to letting you hear that. Follow us all over social media, just look for Duke Writes Books, that's me, and I'll give you all Simon's details at the end of the podcast as well. But right now, here it is, episode number 7 of the Peer Project podcast with Simon Brodkin. Simon, how are you?
I'm okay, mate. I'm okay. As obviously no one listening will know this, but I've just kept you waiting for a little bit of time. And of course, every time it feels like a valid excuse for me, but then there starts to be a certain pattern whereby there's always something going on a little bit more than I'm actually capable of dealing with. Hence the ADHD diagnosis, which obviously we're going to get to at some stage, but it all makes sense. And it's great, you know. I'm not responsible. It's my brain.
I love it. It's funny. Do you know what? Let's get straight into that then, right? Because it's funny that you should bring this up, and this is something that you and I that you'll find out about when chatting to me, is that I try and relate things to my own personal life, because I know that other people will relate as well, and. Sure. I'm currently waiting on an ADHD diagnosis myself. I'm waiting. I've been referred, and I'm just waiting on the, because I think there's just certain things that just don't sit right, and I think this might be the reason. What made you think, or what made you what were your alarm bells, if that makes sense?
Alarm bells. Well, there were many alarm bells, of which I never really picked up on any of them. Alarm bells is probably an incorrect phrase, just because I think with ADHD, if we try and think of ADHD as has loads of positives, and so alarm bells does sound like there's a fire, and admittedly, most houses under my care may end up with a fire, but the sort of things that maybe I should have picked up, and look, at school it was a no-brainer. I mean, I was there, I was getting booted out of class, I wasn't concentrating. I was making everyone laugh. And of course, back in the day, if I would have said I've got ADHD, they would have said, Brodkin, do you know how the ABC sounds? ABCD, not ADHD. And because it just wasn't, it didn't exist. It wasn't a thing, even though it actually was, because I've been looking into this now because I'm writing comedy about it. And that means I get to actually get distracted on the internet for a good reason now. So I'm looking up all this stuff about ADHD, and it was way back. These doctors, I mean, Dr. George Still was the person who is sort of the founding father, and that was 1902. And even then, it goes back before then, when he described children with a morally defective. There's some very funny things written by doctors about ADHD kids back in the day, when you could write what you wanted about kids or patients of any sort. So and his name was Dr. George Still, which I think is the greatest name you can have for someone treating hyperactive kids. I'm Dr. Still, and this is my colleague, Professor Shut the Fuck Up. And so at school it was just so obvious. Obviously, once we get out of because think about school, very set roles for everyone at school. Pupils have to get in at a certain time, get their certain books out, be in a certain class, sit in the position. So everyone, it's like kind of test conditions, isn't it? So that's why I think at school, that is the most obvious place where you can spot which kids are doing differently. However, because no one in the UK had heard of ADHD, no one spotted that with me. And then once you get out into the wider world, you fit in, you find your thing, and so it's much more difficult to spot. With ADHD, there are certain I'm now sounding like a doctor. I was a doctor, and which is even more amusing or strange that I didn't know anything about ADHD. The fact that I didn't know about it, I'm always interested in mental health, and I actually was a doctor. And the fact that I didn't know about it shows it's emblematic of the fact that it's just totally missing from the healthcare service. And even doctors, even psychiatrists do not know enough about this. So it's still seen very much as a specialist thing. People still have such limited knowledge about it. So it's getting darker and darker. Let me put my light on in here. Hang on 1 second. Is that better?
Yeah, there's that handsome face.
Why, thank you. I've got everything blurred in the background because my room's a fucking dump. So another ADHD thing, just carnage. So with the ADHD, there are obviously certain things, certain criteria that you have to fit into. So I don't know what you are, what you're currently going through, but there are certain things to do with attention and to do with distraction and to do with all sorts, and your doctor will make you fill out pages and pages of what you are like in this circumstance, what you deal with, how often do you lose things, how often do you lose your temper, how often do you lose your kids. So, and then the funny thing is they gave it to my wife, and then they gave it to my mum, and my wife, our answers pretty much coincided, like, Simon's a fucking train wreck. And my mum was like, no, there's nothing wrong with him. Everything was like, he's never lost anything. He's never had difficulty with this. I'm like, Mum, I think you might be seeing this through slightly maternal spectacles. But what are the things you're asking me what my alarm bells were. It was just, there were so many things going on in my mind. That was what led to the actual diagnosis. It was just like, everything going on. So, and with ADHD, there's no prioritizing. So let's say I had to post a letter and complete my tax returns, write someone a birthday card and then put out a fire downstairs in the kitchen. They all just you're really bad at prioritizing. That's why look on my desk. I've got post-it notes all over the fucking place. I write them. I never fucking do anything about them. So everything is just can become a little overwhelming because there's so many things that you feel like you got to do, and you don't know how to do them, and there's no prioritizing. And I think that was what led to the diagnosis in the end, because I was like, what is going on in my brain, man? Why is everything extra hard to do?
Did you think as well that obviously you'd said this all started when you were at school, but how old are you?
I'm 43 or 4. I need to look at my Wikipedia. So actually, I should adjust my Wikipedia, and then I can make myself 24.
There you go. Yeah. So you went to school, what, late 80s, early 90s then? When, you know, mental health and, you know, ADHD and things like that just weren't really a thing. So in your eyes, and I suppose in your teacher's eyes, you were maybe just I won't say a bad kid, but, you know, like things like the class clown.
You can say bad kid. 100% I was treated like that.
Yeah.
100%. There is also a naughtiness within me. So, I mean, for me to start going, it's actually the ADHD, bro. I'm an incredible student. But there is something, again, in ADHD called oppositional defiant disorder, because all these things start overlapping. And you know what? I just think we're at the very start of understanding this. I reckon in 50 years' time, ADHD will be split into 15 different categories, and it will be, I reckon we're at the stage with mental health as we were with doctors, you know, in the 1800s. Your wife has an illness. We must treat her with illness things. Pass the saffron, you know, we've no fucking idea what we're doing. And I reckon these broad terms to do with these mental health things will be usurped by better knowledge, better understanding. But while we're in this stage, even we were before that. That was the stage before that, when doctors had no idea that washing their hands even helped patients. They'd use the same fucking knives. Oh my God. Stick a bit of a gin in them and get them to bite on a stick and cut the leg off. So we're at the stage where they didn't know ADHD. So what are they going to think? Well, they've got this guy who's dicking about constantly, not concentrating, being a class clown, getting thrown out. We need to label him. Well, he's a bad student, isn't he? He's all over the place. So yeah, they do definitely. You get branded as being, I wouldn't say stupid, but it certainly has that impact, because if you're struggling and everyone else around you isn't, well, what other conclusion are you going to come to? Yeah.
And so my question in that sense is, when you had suspicions that you might have ADHD, and maybe even when you got your diagnosis, did everything just kind of start to make sense? In terms
I never thought I had ADHD.
Really? Back, okay.
Yeah, it was never something that I thought was, I just didn't, you know, I'd heard ADHD, all these celebrities, ADHD. I was thinking, oh, come on, man, pull yourself to fucking together. And next thing you know, I'm now on social media. I've got ADHD. So it wasn't even in my my thought process. It was, you know, I look, with ADHD, I don't know whether you want the whole conversation to be about ADHD.
No, but just go for it, and we'll see where we go after it.
Yeah, it affects every aspect of your brain. So every part of your brain is affected. So in terms of what it does to you, it affects across the board. And with ADHD, something like 70% have a comorbidity, which means in layman's terms, that means another thing going on.
Okay.
So that can be, to do with mental health. Doesn't mean you've also, you know, got, ulcerative colitis. It means things like, can be eating disorders. It can be depression. It can be anxiety. It can be all the. But what happens is when you treat the ADHD, normally these things dissipate. And I've always had things going on. I've always, you know, there's always, look, my new show's called Screwed Up. I've always thought I was screwed up, and I've never known why. And I didn't think it was ADHD. And at first, when I was told it was ADHD, I was like, nah, because I didn't know anything about it. And then I started looking into it, and there was a moment I listened to this podcast called ADHD. Let me look on my phone. Wasn't the Manchester City one. They rarely mention ADHD. It's called Attitude, Strategies and Support for ADHD. ADHD Experts. It's that. Can you see that? Because everything's blurred.
Yeah, I just caught it, and I will be downloading that podcast as well.
And it's really fucking good. Go back to the very beginning. Go back to the first ones where they just explain it from a very bit. And I started listening to these, and there was a moment I was driving to a gig, and I started crying. Not because I was late. Or that there were traffic problems or the petrol crisis, but it was all around that time. But because they were listing these symptoms, and I was like, oh my God. And it felt like someone had been following me around my whole life and then wrote a list of everything about me and then said, yeah, let's call this ADHD. But I felt like it could have been called Simon Brodkin's brain is one big clusterfuck syndrome. And it was really emotional because all these little things were like, oh my God, I thought I was just a bit fucking odd. But it was weird. It also felt a bit depersonalizing because all these little things, from messy desk to not sitting down and relaxing to a million and one of them, which you think they were listing these things. And it was like, oh my God, I felt like the robot in AI, you know, that kid who finds out he's a robot.
Yes.
And it felt like that because it felt like, oh my God, there's just an instructions pamphlet for me, which of course there is because we're all just a bunch of genes anyway. So but when it hits home and it's like, and it was like, it was quite overwhelming. But then, yeah, lots of things do absolutely make sense across the fucking board through every aspect of my personality. Not personality, but lots of my personality, lots of my traits, lots of my outlook, lots of my behaviors, all explained. Boom.
Obviously, you got massive success right at the beginning with the character Lee Nelson, who, you know, was huge. Actually, just on something on the flip side of that, here's me getting distracted now. There's a character up here in Scotland who I find him and Lee would get on really well. Have you ever heard of the Wee Man?
I have heard of the Wee Man. And people have said the Wee Man in the past, but I don't think we've pathed up. I don't think our paths have crossed. But I am, of course, a Wee Man myself, even if I haven't labelled myself that. But yeah, no, there were a couple of other characters floating around at the time who had a little bit of overlap. I thought there was another Scottish one as well. He might have actually. Has he been going years?
He's been going about for a while, yeah.
Because I think he might have gate crashed my show in Edinburgh, which would make sense because he's the Wee Man.
That sounds like something that he would do.
And he was some pastiche of one of my pranks, and I think he might have thrown money over. I can't remember what he did. The Wee Man, our paths might have crossed, even if he didn't pay for a ticket and barged his way in. The Wee Man is always welcome to a ticket for my show, as long as he doesn't prank me while I'm on stage.
At least he threw money at you. But okay, bring it. So you brought up the pranks, and this is something that I want to talk to you about, okay? Because it takes some amount of balls to do some of the things that you have done with these pranks. You know, talking about throwing money. You're giving Theresa May or P45, or the Donald Trump one, which I just absolutely love. And one of the things that fascinates me about that is, you know, in terms of living with anxiety myself, I know that one of the big things about anxiety is the fear of failure. And the fact that you have went out there and you've put yourself out there so much in front of so many people that these things could potentially go wrong. How on earth do you build yourself up to be able to do something like that, where you can go in front of the entire world and hand the most powerful woman in the country, her P45 in front of everybody.
Well, we talked about ADHD and not using the term alarm bells. Well, maybe because ADHD has some great qualities as well in terms of dogged determination, loving a challenge, single-mindedness, hyper-focus, and determination. And also, as I'm talking about in my Edinburgh show, we're lacking a reward system. So we're always looking for the next hit, the next buzz, the next adrenaline rush. And so maybe I do stunts, maybe someone else does base jumping. And so all those things combined add up to being able to do it and being determined to do it. And they're great fun.
Was there any point when you were planning any of these things where you thought to yourself, am I going too far here, or is this going to work?
Far? No. Am I going too far? No. Well, you can probably see my hand shaking as I give Theresa May a P45 because I was shitting myself that if I got within a certain distance of the Prime Minister, there was like a code 16. Just get taken out. No fucking fucks given. No questions asked. You go near our Prime Minister, you get a bullet in the head, which you could understand, But instead, I was just gently lowered back to the floor by security who thought I was part of her team, giving her an extra page of her speech. So there isn't a code 16, everyone. Not that I would advise going anywhere near any Prime Minister. So at times, do I ever think I've gone too far? No, because you're picking people who are deserving. I mean, as you said, she's a powerful woman, Sepp Blatter, Manchester City,
Trump.
Who else? Trump. Yes, thank you. Sir Philip Green. These are fuckers who, are not. You're not looking to sympathize with them. You're thinking they deserve a little comedic slap around the face.
Because I watched the Donald Trump one just before you. Well, I had plenty of time because you had 40 minutes. I had 40 extra minutes in my prep time.
All right. Listen, I've said sorry. Let's move on from that. No, it was out of order, no doubt. So I watched after my kids. I need help, mate.
I watched the kind of the process behind planning your Trump stunt, and I couldn't get my head around the fact that, I mean, you're talking pictures on the wall, like almost like you were a New York detective trying to, it was a hell of a process, and the fact that you nailed it so intricately is just it's phenomenal. I love it. Like
sorry, dude.
No, carry on. Like, how was that process? How did you even get to that?
Yeah, that's the biggest fear. The biggest fear is it not working out, not failing, but it not you've not getting done what you've been planning for weeks and weeks and weeks. But just to get this right, I was late, but you took that time to do some basic research on my career.
There we go. See, done.
Shoddy, mate. Shoddy. No, so it was that one was a ball ache. That one. Well, firstly, I thought I was going to have to go to America because that tends to be where
he is, yeah.
Where Americans live, but not Trump. He's wanting to set up businesses all around the world. So when the first day he was coming to me, I was like, "Oh yes, thank you, mate." So because he's got a golf course in Scotland, well, he's got two. What's the one? Trump Turnberry was where I pranked him, and it was arduous. It was painstaking. It was guesswork. It was meticulous planning. Recce's up there working out where he's going to be, what he's going to be doing. Now, I got it actually wrong because I thought he was going to be playing a shot off the tee, but he was actually, because that's what he always did when he opened golf courses in America. But he's got more presidential, and he actually used that. He just talked and fuck it. I've never heard a bigger bucket of shit coming out of someone's mouth than that 45 minutes or whatever of Donald Trump's speech. It makes no fucking sense. Anyone who's listened to a speech, but this was in the UK, so I suspect he didn't have really much of a speech, right? He was just going off the top of his head, and he doesn't have much of a top of head. So he was, I thought he'd play a golf shot, which is why, because we found out it was on the green, and then I thought it was going to be, and I was going to throw all the swastika and blazing golf balls as he took his shot. Mm-hmm. But he was speaking, and so I pretended I was from the golf course, and said, "This is the new Trump Turnberry range," or something like that, and scattered all the golf balls at his feet. And so, yeah, that was meticulous, just because CIA, FBI, Secret Service, the lot of them. In fact, I still owe a debt of gratitude to the Scottish police. So they have free tickets for life. Anyone who arrested me that day, they were amazing, because they persuaded the CIA not to press charges.
Nice. Well, here's the question then, because you'd mentioned before about being so scared with getting so close to Theresa May. How was the fear level about getting close to the president of the US?
Fun enough, that one, I don't know why. I was told guns were drawn.
Really?
Yeah. But that wasn't in my mind. Because I think it's because with that one, there was so... With the Theresa May one, what was the difference? Oh, probably I knew I had to get... Because to give someone a P45, you've literally got to be a piece of paper distance apart, an A4 piece of paper apart. Whereas with the Donald Trump one, I could go closer to him, but I knew that to do it, I didn't actually have to get that close to him. Mm-hmm. So that was the difference.
You've got to throw some balls in his face.
Just chuck some fucking balls at him. Easy.
Excellent. Right. So you are coming up this way on the 3rd to 27th of August for the show Screwed Up. And we've already mentioned the fact that, you are going to speak about your ADHD diagnosis, and you're going to bring a lot of comedy to that as well. What I've got particular interest in is talking about, it says you talk about your relationship to fame. Do you enjoy being famous? Simple, just wrap up that question in one. Do you enjoy it? Do you like it?
Fuck yeah. Is that good enough?
Yeah.
Fucking yes, I fucking love it. Bring it on. I talk about going for an interview on I'm a Celebrity. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't sure whether I should do the series. I wasn't sure if it was right for me. And also they turned me down. And then apparently not enough people know my name. And that leads to a big part of the show, which is just going, what the fuck? This is the show famous for having nobodies on. This is the show where, when they announce the lineup, everyone says, who are they? This is the show where no one knows who they're watching. They make contestants wear shirts with their names written across their backs, and they said not enough people know my name. And there's a constant through line throughout the show, which is just going, fuck, I'm not famous enough for I'm a Celebrity. Yeah. Not for really front page of every newspaper. And then, during the show, there's talk when Ant from Ant and Dec, can't even say his first name without bringing his partner, but Ant McPartland.
Yes.
That I was doing the Britain's Got Talent thing where I dressed up as an ultra-Orthodox Hasidic gangster rapping rabbi, as you do. Again, another reason I knew that I wasn't quite right in the head. And in this heavy disguise, and Ant spots me and told the producers, I mean, they've got fuck all else to do during that show, let's be honest. So it wasn't, but going, he recognized me in full disguise, but not famous enough. I'm a Celebrity. So yeah, there's a constant talking in the show about fame and about, why aren't I back on television at the moment on I'm a Celebrity, and why not more people don't know my name. And then that leads to talking about other stuff, which is realizing a big other thing this year was that my family, my great grandparents were Russian.
Yes, I was going to ask you about this.
Yeah, what a great time to find that out, eh? Great timing. What next? I'm going to find out my uncle's Kim Jong Un. My cousin's Jeffrey Epstein. It's just so and their name was Chernobrodko, and they changed it to blend in because of all the anti-Semitism that was going across Russia. And of course, no one can remember Brodkin, and not enough people knew my name to go on. I'm a celebrity. Well, had I been called Chernobrodko, could maybe be a guest presenter on the One Show by now.
Oh my God! See because obviously I've got this kind of cheat sheet here, right? And talking about the disparity between mental and physical health. Like, so I want to give you a little bit of background on the reason why I'm asking you about this. So my backstory is I've had my own mental health journey, and I used to be, ridiculously overweight. I was 25 stone at one point in my life, and obviously I've lost about 10 stone now. I'm sitting at about 15.
Congratulations, man! That could not have been easy.
It wasn't, but back when I was at that size and my physical health wasn't great, my mental health was awful. It was just it was a horrible time. And then now that my weight is coming down, my mental health is going up. Do you feel that that's the case? Do you feel that that's like a common thing, or do you feel that it's different?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I personally speaking, I'm very much all or nothing. And this, again, learning about the ADHD and how it affects all aspects. This is not uncommon to be to have little bits and pieces skew with across the board. But yeah, will try and exercise daily. It helps me mentally massively. Helps me physically. I'm a vain bastard and like looking good. And 100% tied in. Mental, physical well-being. Just couldn't be a bigger advocate for exercise. I just think that if we could invest, think of the advertising that goes on a fucking iPhone. Everyone's dribbling over there. Oh my God, they've released it in a new color. Yeah. Why do we think that? Because they're advertising. If there was profit to be made in people jogging and a company goal that no, because jogging, you put on a pair of shoes, even fucking Nike, they don't make running shoes anymore. They're interested in selling you fashion stuff. So if there was more money to capitalism, got its hands a bit more on exercise, but they want to sell you stuff, they want to sell you a Peloton bike. You don't need that shit. You need a pair of shoes and a road, a street. And I just such a big believer in that those sort of basic little lifestyle changes. Exercise and food's slightly more complicated because it needs a little more education. It needs a little more money as well. But those things can make such a fucking colossal difference. And if you took away that my ability to exercise, my ability to eat what I want, I feel like shit. Absolutely. I'm very controlled in that, and it helps me enormously, from mental thinking to relaxation to the lot.
So the show, the Screwed Up show, is actually, it's only your second show, isn't it, as Simon? Because Lee had kind of taken the brunt of the front facing part of that. Was there ever a risk of Lee kind of being the only kind of manifest of you in the public eye? For example, like, you look at Lee Francis, who does Keith Lemon, and Keith Lemon is Lee Francis now. That's kind of where you...
Yeah,
was there ever that really risk of the two blending?
Really good question. That absolutely was, and that's a route I could have taken. There's so many things to talk about this, which are connected with mental health as well. First of all, when you have ADHD, I think part of it is never quite fitting in. And there's also quite a sensitivity. This isn't with everyone. That's why it's dangerous to say this and that with ADHD, because someone will come along, I don't get that. And again, I think that's why we're just at the start of understanding this, this neurological issues, and we're probably tarnishing everyone with the same ADHD brush when there's probably going to be loads of different subsections. But certainly for me, and I know it's not uncommon, is a sensitivity to being criticized, a lack of comfort in one's own skin because you're a bit different. And so I jumped into character comedy, and where you can pretend to be someone else, and that suits me perfectly and suits my skill set and suits lots of things about me. So that always felt the most natural thing to do. The very first time I grabbed the microphone, I wasn't me, I was Lee. And absolutely there could have been a time when I was like, let's do Lee, it's working, the tours are getting bigger, but more and more I was on stage and I'd be, I don't know, chatting to someone, I'd be talking to them, and the stuff that was coming out of my mouth, that was me. That wasn't Lee. And there was a sort of thinking process in amongst many other reasons of going, this is crazy. Someone else is getting the credit for this.
Yeah.
And the biggest challenge that I've ever done, forget all the stunts, parenting, not that I do much of that, but when it's my turn, I always say, I'll do a podcast then. It is going from being a character to being oneself on stage. And yes, this is the second show. I'm very proud of my of the shows. I think this will be even better than the last one. As a stand-up comic, you learn so much. I didn't know much about stand-up comedy. What? You've been doing it for years, yeah, but it was always as Lee. So it was always a slightly different thing. So it's like saying, well, you play football? Well, yes, I played in goal, and now I'm playing in midfield. Same sport, completely different skill set. And yeah, coming out and talk, and I wasn't really ready to do that before either, because I wasn't really that comfortable to do that, or a lot of hiding. I'm sure a psychiatrist could have a field day with character comedians, but yeah, there was a definitive and I'm trying to think of the word here, but there was a choice that I made to go, hang on, let's move away from that before that is everything.
Did you think Lee possibly could have been a bit of a comfort blanket for you at points?
A comfort blanket? No, because it wasn't like I knew what the other thing was. It was Lee or Big Void. It wasn't like I'd done stand-up as myself and I'll just keep going over to Lee. Lee, I wanted to reach out for Lee when I first started doing gigs, and I was just, it was like writing with your left hand when you're right-handed and being asked to draw in front of everyone, and you're like, I fucking know I can do this with my right hand, let me. So that was what it was like at first, because I was there and I was like, I can smash the shit out of this gig. Just but that was the discipline of going, no, keep with it. Again, a nice ADHD trait, hopefully, is or certainly a trait that I've got. Who knows? When it's something bad, I'll give ADHD the blame. When it's something positive, it's me. Wasn't me who was late, it's the ADHD. But it's so the just sticking with it, and then the more comfortable you become, the easier it gets. I would say now it will feel really weird for me to go back as Lee. It would be just odd. I'd feel like, what? Why am I putting on that accent? What? It would feel strange.
Are you?
But he is still available for bar mitzvahs, weddings, and high-paying functions in Dubai.
Are you? And I'll explain why I'm asking this in a second. But are you finished with the stunts, or do you think there might be some more in your back pocket? Look,
there's always opportunities. There's always things one thinks of. Absolutely.
Now, the reason I brought this up
You've got an idea for me.
Well, no. Oh, God, no. I would never tell somebody how to do their own
Boris
job.
Johnson is in my living room.
Well, this is that. Do you know? Funny enough, he's the guy in my head. But there are a lot of people right now that are very deserving of a Simon Brodkin stunt.
100%, mate. Used to be hard to pick. Now it's where do I get started?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, that definitely. At the moment, when you do a stunt, it's like a boxer. You got to want it. You can't just get in that ring and then be, cowering at the first punch. You've got to face it, look it in the eye and go, bring it on. And if there's one little doubt, then you're going to lose that fight. Like the same with stunts. And at the moment, my real focus is becoming as good a stand-up comedian as I can. And there's a show heading up to the Edinburgh Festival where all these other comedians are. And, it's I want to make sure that my show is a really good show. So that takes so much care and craft and time, trying it out, writing, listening, changing it. So that's where my head's at the moment. But if you see Boris Johnson, give me a call. I'll ditch the script for a bit. Bish bosh bash. Give him a party invite.
Nice. That's it. You've already told us what you're going to do. So the show is called Screwed Up. It's at the Edinburgh Fringe this year at the Pleasance Courtyard Cabaret Bar from the 3rd to the 27th of August, excluding the 15th, which means
have a breakdown.
Which means you're free that day. Which we're going to go out for a drink that day. Telling you that just now,
mate.
And tickets are at edfringe.com. So thank you once again to Simon Brodkin for taking the time to chat to me, even though he made me wait for about 40 minutes before. But he mentioned that it's all to do with the kids, isn't it? That's the thing. And I've got no issues with it. Such a nice guy, and I can't wait to go and see him in the Fringe when that comes up. Now, if you want to find Simon on social media, you can, and I think it is just Simon Brodkin all over the socials. So let me just double check so I can find it. Yep, here we go. Simon Brodkin, all over social media. You can get the tickets for his show at edfringe.com. The dates are the 3rd to the 27th of August, excluding the 15th. I'm trying to convince him to go out for a drink that night at the Pleasance Courtyard Cabaret Bar, and it's called Screwed Up. Thank you, Simon. Thank you also to the team at Avalon for allowing Simon to come onto the podcast. Hopefully we'll do some more work with them in the future, and I'll have more guests coming up for you soon. But in the meantime, like, rate and subscribe to wherever you get this podcast, and I will catch you very soon on the Peer Project podcast. Bye bye.